Good morning, guys. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm still pretty chilly. The sun hasn't even come up over the trees yet fully. It's right there. But okay, last two beds of asparagus. I got my shovel. The girls are going to help me. I'm going to start digging out the crowns, and they're going to start transferring them over to the orchard area. And we'll see how many crowns of asparagus we get, and then hopefully we can get this bed, well, all three of these beds covered. Since we already weeded this one, then we can just cover the last two beds, and then this whole area will be completely finished.
Y'all, as soon as I started digging, I realized how big of a task this was going to be, and I quickly realized I was not going to get to that second bed today. The roots, digging them were so hard.
So I've basically been trying to dig out the whole plant with roots still attached, but sometimes the tops are breaking off, and then that's harder because then we just have to find the roots, and the roots, although they look like this, sometimes it's hard to find the crown of the roots. So, and it's not easy. This is not easy, guys. I'm like already regretting that I'm doing this as I'm doing it.
To motivate myself, I kept telling myself, just do this one bed, just get this one bed done as I was digging, so that I can make myself feel better, saying, one bed, just get the whole bed done. You already started. And I kept repeating that in my head and telling myself, like, you can take a break if you want to. You're only doing one bed, instead of like telling myself that I want to get both beds done, because I knew that I could not get it done. Not only was the asparagus roots really thick, but the amount of weeds that was in this bed, even though they had died back, roots were still in here. So digging the asparagus roots on top of the weeds was really intense, and it was like we were weeding the bed, like a double, weeding the bed and getting the asparagus roots out, and it was just really difficult. And then on the other hand, I was thinking that why didn't I pick up one of the cooler days that we had when it was just like the high was in the 50s and 60s to do this? Because today, although it was cool when we started, my husband told me that it was going to get up to 83 degrees. And so I was regretting picking today to get these asparagus picked, because I knew as soon as I started how long it was going to take, and I needed it not to get hot, because hot weather and me in the garden just does not mix. And so once it started getting hot, I just knew I had to stop.
It is much later in the day. The sun is already about to set. We did end up getting majority of the bed, if as much as we could get, dug out, and I'll bring you in closer and show you. But this was the hardest thing that I'm not even sure if I want to even tackle that next bed. That's how hard this was. It literally took so long, and these roots are just so thick. Let me turn you around and show you. So all of these strings right here are roots that broke off as in the process of trying to get all of these roots out. But let me show you these. If you watched when we planted these, you can tell that all of the roots were probably this long when we planted them. And when we planted them, this is like two together. When we planted them, not only were they that long, but then they also were 2-year crowns, and I've had them for about 2 years, so now they're probably 4-year crowns. And so you can see why a lot of the roots have broken off. But that is all of the roots. I didn't do much filming because we were literally struggling for our lives. I had the shovel, and I was just going around each asparagus plant that was already up. Some asparagus plants already had new asparagus coming back up, and some of them had asparagus coming back up, but they weren't all the way fully up yet, so they're still white. And I just went and shoveled around each plant, and that was still so hard to do because they were so stuck. And then my girls were both pulling the roots out as I found them, but they were so stuck together because I planted them in, I think, 3 lines going down the bed, and so all of the roots were just connected going down, and so me trying to shovel was just super intense, and it was 83 degrees outside, and I don't know what the real feel was, but we were all like very sweating and hot. So by the time we went inside to do a lunch break, I had to lay down. I felt so exhausted. And now we're back out here to pick up all of the crowns. I'm just like, am I the only one who overestimates? Like, I'm thinking we're gonna do 2 beds and we couldn't even, like, we were struggling to get this 1 bed done, especially towards this end right here. The mass was about this big stuck together, and it was intense. While we were out here, Aiden was still putting down some more landscape fabric on the other side of the garden, and I think he completely finished, is what he said. Part of me does not want to like dig again to just make sure that we got all of the roots. I'm just like, if there's any more asparagus in here, it's fine at this point. I thought about, since these 2 beds are done now, covering these 2 beds and just leaving that bed, because I definitely don't want to do it tomorrow. The girls were like, can we do that bed tomorrow? And I was like, yeah. And then now I'm even doubting if I want to even touch that bed tomorrow or the next day or any day, and just plant the asparagus crowns we have. When I first ordered them, I ordered them from Johnny's, and I ordered the purple and the green, and I thought this bed was supposed to be green. I mean, this bed was supposed to be purple Majesty, I think it was called, and that bed was supposed to be the green. But I'm not 100% sure on that, because at this point they both look green when they were growing. Y'all. So I ordered 100 Purple Majesty and 100 of the green ones. I don't remember the name of it, but I think I only planted I planted all 100, probably 180 to 190. I did give away 10 to 20 asparagus. And so you could imagine trying to dig up at least 90 asparagus crowns, and since they've been there and dropped seeds, there were some smaller ones that I wasn't too sure about. Let me see if I can find one and show you guys. There were a bunch of these, and I was not sure if this was an asparagus trying to grow, because they were all around the asparagus roots, and I was wondering if they were first year asparagus, because asparagus seeds are much smaller than this, but if they just dropped from the whole pod, that could definitely be a small asparagus, or this could just be a weed because it was just growing all over. Either way, I just found another crown. Either way, we took them out and we swept all the debris up and threw it over the fence. I decided to go ahead and put down the plastic over the beds that we did, and then I left room so if we ever get that 3rd bed done, we do have enough plastic to go over that bed. But protecting these 2 beds, we put the cattle panels to keep it down, and then going into what is this called? Going into this bed, I didn't completely cover it because this is black-eyed peas, that they have a lot of dried up black-eyed peas that we can pick. We're probably not going to do that today because the sun has already set. We have to do animal chores. But it was perfect taking down these cattle panels and the time that we did, because now we can use them to lay down this plastic, and the plastic won't be able to fly off. And I am so tired, guys. In one day we did 1 asparagus bed, and we filled the boxes, and we're putting the boxes towards the front of the garden area. I'll show you as we're walking out, so that we can eventually transfer them over. Not all of them are going to fit inside the, what are they called, forever garden beds, and now I'm just wondering what I'm going to do with the rest of them. So that's another reason, I don't think I said that earlier, why I'm not in a hurry to dig that 2nd bed, even though it's hard, but also because I don't know where exactly I'm going to put all this asparagus, because that is a 3 by like 16-foot bed, and the Forever Garden beds inside of the orchard area are 2 by 8. So it's a whole big difference. Some thoughts. I'm gonna start walking in. Hey girls, y'all can bring the boxes to the front. Some thoughts that I had about the asparagus was planting the ones that we already dug in the orchard area like I thought about, but then I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have some left over, and I've thought about even planting them in these Forever Garden beds. I just need somewhere where the weeds aren't gonna grow through, and I don't really have a bad weed problem in these Forever Garden beds, and so I've been thinking about doing that. The only reason I'm hesitant to do that is because when our goats get free, the first thing that they come running to charging to is the garden, and they can fit their heads through these 4x4 fences. I could put them along this side of the garden because those holes are much smaller. Those are the boxes. I couldn't put them on that side with the Forever Garden beds because those holes are much smaller and the goats have no access to those beds. But we'll just have to see if I do that. So there's like a lot to think about, because if I do that, I would need to add more soil into these beds like right now, and I wasn't really planning on doing that. So I don't know. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. But I definitely am still glad that we pulled out those asparagus out of those beds, because trying to keep it weeded from the grass was just not happening. And dealing with both of the beds weeded like that was really bad. So even if I never get to the other one, having to deal with one weedy bed is a bigger difference than having to deal with 2 weedy asparagus beds. I don't know. We'll have to see what I come up with, and I'll see what you guys think as well. I won't mess with that second bed until you guys give me advice. Get that other container of asparagus and put it right here. So we have 3 boxes and a container of all 4 boxes? No, we have 3 boxes and a bucket of all asparagus roots. And these were the areas that Aiden added the landscape fabric. So you can see no more weeds. The last place that he didn't was right here, because this is a big ant pile, and so he kind of just disturbed them and left it. But all the other areas now have landscape fabric, and just having this covered already just looks so good. It looked good when this side was covered, but now even having the other side covered is awesome. That big bush in the middle is not weeds, it's the asparagus from the beds that, or the grass and the asparagus that we need to get up. It looks like one's right there too.
This?
Yeah, maybe. All of that is weeds and asparagus that broke off. Oh, there's some more crowns here.
What?
There's some more crowns here. Here. Hey, Niall, here. Niall. Thanks. This plastic is about 20 feet. It's 10 by 20. So we have 20. That's a quarter of the garden weeded and covered, because my garden is about 100 feet going from front to back, and then towards the back it's 50 feet wide, but towards the front it gets slimmer and goes to about 40 feet. So I would say 1/4 of the garden right now is weeded and covered for spring. I'm gonna try and get back out here first thing in the morning, just so this asparagus doesn't dry out. It's supposed to be 45 degrees tonight, and it's really cool right now, so I don't think it's gonna dry out overnight, but the rest of the week is gonna be about 80, in the mid 80s, and it could definitely dry out if I left it just open. And so I'm gonna definitely plant those asparagus that I have to, or they'll die.